You cannot be coming to our country and take everything that will make us develop, and then you still treat us as inferior people, as if we don't know what we're doing. I think that is wrong.
Did you know that NATO have engaged in a serious war with Russia? This time not over Ukraine as you know it, but they are fighting over Africa continent mineral resource. Did you know about that? Of course, I doubt. Do you have an idea that things are about to blow off between NATO and Russia, followed by China? All because NATO, they are losing what is most important for them in Africa continent.
NATO defense ministers have agreed to step up and provide further military support, including more air defense. NATO has mapped out existing capabilities across the alliance, and there are systems that can be made available to Ukraine.
I doubt you do not know about it. Do you know why? Because the medias who are supposed to be talking about all these things, they are not saying anything. All the big medias, they are quiet about it. They are ignoring it. Instead, what are they doing? They are more focused on what P. Diddy had done with his dramas.
And we are learning more about the sex trafficking raids on mansions belonging to Sean Diddy Combs.
Something serious did happen last month, as you also how Russia they have to suffer this terror attack which took place, that Russia have to accuse the United States of America, saying that them with Ukraine, they were involved in all this. We'll talk about that just in a bit, but right now I want to bring your attention to what also did happen recently, whereby one of their important ship which get to be involved in accident through this bridge, whereby this ship have to go and crash into a bridge, as you can see it, and this was called and considered by the US as a cyber attack. And they had to go for saying that this did not happen by any mistake, because someone is behind it. And who are them expecting this time to do this kind of crime? Of course, they are suspecting all their enemies, such as Russia. On the other side, Russia, they are accusing the United States of America with Ukraine, saying that they knew and they are part of this terror attack which took place in Russia previously, which killed about 140 people who lose their life over there. So Russia is accusing the United States of America. How possible is that? Because they are saying that the CIA, they had something to do with this, because they are the one who had found this terror attack to take place in Russia. Wow, what amazing news. Are you telling me that the CIA, the one that who was also being mentioned that they knew the death of President Kennedy, who could not last in the office for that long? Do you mean the same CIA who was being mentioned that they were the one who sponsored the whole assassination of this former president of the US? Wow, I can't believe this for a second. Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do, because we are talking about people who usually plan things and fake and try to make it look like they had nothing to do with it. Of course, I do believe in this, because these are the same CIA who usually act like they're innocent until when the truth comes to light.
We spoke to someone who had access to these still hidden CIA documents, a person who was deeply familiar with what they contain. We asked this person directly, did the CIA have a hand in the murder of John F. Kennedy, an American president? And here's the reply we received verbatim. Quote, the answer is yes. This is someone with direct knowledge of the information that once again is being withheld from the American public. And the answer we received was unequivocal. Yes, the CIA was involved in the assassination of the president.
Through an interview, Colonel McCrack also confirmed that the CIA, they were behind 100%.
CIA and MI6 are actively involved in this terror plot inside of Moscow. What is the goal for the intelligence community in Washington, do you think?
Well, the CIA has been a rogue organization for a long time. Some people say it went rogue in the 60s. The Russian people are infuriated. They're angry. They want blood. The emotions in Russia are running very, very high.
So according to this investigation which the Russia government they've been doing in order for them to find out who have committed such a crime to kill innocent people, about 140 people that we are talking about here, and they end up finding out that no, these terrorists, they were financed through kryptons. This money, they had to go and withdraw it in Ukraine, and see Ukraine, we're seeing United States of America. So they even went far saying that it was the United States of America who had found these terrorists, and they were able to plan everything in Ukraine. And they had to say that it was not only the United States of America, but UK was also behind all this. In case if you miss it, this is how it all started. As you can see in this footage that I'm sharing with you, you can see that a ship which was carrying a lot of containers, the terrorists have used this ship in order for them to go and crash into a bridge which was helping many passengers to cross from one side to another side. And once this bridge get collapsed, that is how many people end up losing their life. So here, guys, we trying to understand that the US, which always want to play the role of a good example around the world, with the UK, they had to go all the way and found these terrorists to attack the government of Russia. What a wicked heart that these people do have. Because on other sides, we're having the CIA who had to come also and deny all these allegations which are being put in their position. They are saying that no, we did our part, we did warn Russia government that there will be a terror attack which will take place in their country, but did not listen to us.
We see some very concerning signs of the Russians considering the kind of false flag operations that, we highlighted in the run-up to the war as well. In other words, looking at ways in which they might make attacks against shipping in the Black Sea and then blaming it or trying to blame it on the Ukrainians.
My question is, how did they know that this was going to happen if they are not being part of it? Because we know very well that the US, they are at war with Russia in the Ukraine, and they are trying everything by all means to see on how they can destroy the government of Ukraine so that they can end up coming out as the winner. Because all the time that they had said that they will eliminate Russia government, they could not be able to succeed. On the other side, the NTSB, they came also with other information saying that no, they tried to recover all the things, but only 2 boxes went missing.
At 01:24 and 59 seconds, numerous audible alarms were recorded on the ship's bridge audio. About the same time, VDR sensor data ceased recording.
It did not need much more time for these 2 boxes to go missing. Instead, it was all about less than 2 minutes. The whole records, which had all this basic information that's supposed to help them to have a closure or a proper report that they can give about this, it all went missing. On the other side, among themselves, people who are part of Biden government, they are coming also and confirming very well of what they know. The Biden administrative, they are coming with their own informations, saying that no, it was all plans, they were all aware about it, but at the same time, they are not having the courage to tell people that some of the records which were in these 2 boxes are missing. Well, God never sleeps, because the truth will always come out. Lara Logan, who's an investigative journalist, she had to come and expose the truth about what she knew.
Why are you coming to the mic telling the country that it's not terrorism when your own intelligence agencies are telling you it is? And I know they are, because I didn't make this up. These are not my words, right? I'm talking to people who are on the inside, some who are on active duty, some who are retired, and everyone, literally, from critical infrastructure in Department of Homeland Security to the intelligence agencies, they know there's no other. This is a cyber attack on a critical infrastructure corridor for the United States.
Well, you know what? When all this are happening, no one is talking about it. All the medias, they are quiet about it. Instead, today, but guess what they are busy with? Of course, they were busy talking about the spring cleaning house.
We're back 8:13 with today's spring cleaning.
Again, like always, she's busy distracting people, because that's what they usually do whenever there is a serious matters which concern them, whereby even Americans deserve to know the truth. They'll get to distract people with things that does not even make sense. They'll come up with stories which your ears does not even need to hear at that particular moment. Because as we're talking right now, guys, there is a war. Yes, we're talking about the World War III, which already started taking place, because it was all about Russia and Ukraine. But as we're talking right now, France had threatened Russia and saying that they're going to send their military over there in Ukraine in order for them to attack Russia. And Russia is already angry to the point of using their nuclear bomb. That is how President Putin also had to threaten them back and try to tell them the truth that if France ever try to send their military or their troops in Ukraine, they must be ready to face the consequences of what will happen after then, because they'll be putting the life of their people at risk. Do you know why Russia have to say those kind of words? Because they believe that they'll do everything in their power to finish what they have started. And whoever will try to get involved in all this, of course, they'll have to find Russia on their ways. To make this become even more reality, see what Russia have done so far. They managed to send their militaries to go and train in the Red Sea. And when they're training over there, they're training in the position which is facing France already, so that at any time that France try to attack them, of course, Russia will defend themselves by not attacking Ukraine this time, but they'll go straight and attack France. Do you understand what does that mean? Of course, I doubt you don't follow me properly. Let me give you a very simple example on how people usually get into the World War III. Of course, we all know that through the World War I or World War II, it all started between two countries. And through those two countries, there'll be one third country who will come not to separate these two people who are fighting, but they'll come to support another country. And once they try to support another country, of course, another country will come and join the other countries, and that is how you will see the whole conflict will spread all over the world continents, and it will be having conflict all over, and there won't be peace anymore. And this time, see what Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, have done. He went and had a meeting with Zelensky, who's the current president of Ukraine, the country which is involved in conflict with Russia. And he went to give him his support, saying that France is here to help you with everything you need. So in other words, I guess France, they have a lot of armies, a lot of troops, a lot of bombs and different things that they want to use, but they were not having a proper place to use. It is if like whatsoever they've been using in Africa, it is not enough so far by putting Africa in a lot of conflict. So this time they want to go and attack Russia. Well, you can ask yourself a question. Why are them so desperate to support Ukraine in order for Ukraine to defeat Russia? Well, in order for you to understand all this, let me tell you how it all started. Here this time, I want to tell you about a story which no one is talking about it. Again here, if you go through their medias, you're not going to find them talking about all this. Do you know why? Because they want to blind the world so that the world, they should not know of what is happening. Look at here. So this is France. The Republic of France, which had colonized about 33 countries in Africa continent. Of course, they were the king of Africa. They were the one who were controlling Africa mining, mineral resource, diamond, petrol, gold, coltaniums, everything, including uraniums. Now, it is about time that Africa starts raising up once again. It's about that Africa youth, they have come with their own conscience to understand that whatsoever did happen with our forefathers, our parents, our grandparents, it is now in the past. It is about time we stand and we take our destiny into our hands. African youth decided to assume their responsibility by start cutting every tie which they have with France and the Western countries. And they've been doing so. In the past 3 years, we had experienced about 5 military coups which took place in Africa continent. We are talking about Chad, Mali, Burkina Faso. We're talking about recently we're having Niger and Gabon. These countries, they say, nope, it is over with France.
It's time to put an end to this cycle of oppression. It's high time for France to leave us alone. It's time for France to take a cue from its European neighbors and learn a valuable lesson in independence. On what grounds does France believe it can continue to impose leaders on us and make choices on our behalf? This must come to an end. And the emerging Africa, the African youth, the African elites, and the African diaspora all stand united in saying no, it cannot continue any longer. France's hypocrisy is evident and pervasive in daily life. Let's examine the cases of Mali and Chad as prime examples of this hypocrisy. In Chad, where the constitutional process has been interrupted, France applauded and its president visited to officially consecrate the new king's coronation ceremony. In Mali, where it is not the constitutional process that has been interrupted, but the transition process, France has condemned and even packed up its things to say that it is leaving Mali. That's hypocrisy. It's the double standard. It is the double language that France employs in its dealings with Africa. This is how France deals with African issues. Personally, we expect absolutely nothing from France. We desire her to cease meddling in our matters so that the people of Senegal can exercise their freedom of choice rather than being influenced by France's selection of a candidate using the tactics we are aware of. We know who is being prepared by France. This must come to an end. It will not occur in this manner any longer.
The era of the old Africa is over. Today, the African people are more awake than ever and more than ever determined to take their destiny into their own hands. The African people are tired, exhausted by the categorizations with which everyone wants to box us in.
We are going to reject everything which has to do with France. We don't want France to be again part of us. We don't want to deal with France anymore. We don't want France to come and control our mineral resource. We don't want France to come and control our uraniums or our petrol or our gold or our diamond. We don't want anything to do with France.
They should not allow another person to give them a prescription of how Africa should look like or what we need in our Africa, because we know what we need in our Africa.
What people want is to gain back their wealth, back their uranium, their gold, their iron, their phosphate, their oil, their gas. And this scares the West.
Of course, this time they had to look for a new partner, because when you are trying to cut your tie with France, or you are trying to stop your friendship with a country such as France, which has been there for so many years and they managed to build their economy over African resources, now you'll need at least to have other partners, because we all know, whether we like it or not, the truth is that Africa, we still are under development. Yes, we're still under development. We have not developed everything like the way we're supposed to be long time ago. So now they had to go to look for new partners, and this time they went and looked for Russia, which had already militaries wagon groups which was over there, which was run by this previous general of army in Russia, who was killed or who died, shall I say, in the aircraft. And this time the government of Russia, led by Vladimir Putin, they took these militaries and they put them in the Russian government. So since they were based already in Africa continent, Vladimir Putin could not want them to come back in Russia anymore. He leave them there in Africa so that they can continue with the same mission. And here I'm talking about in countries in which had the Sahel regions, where there is a lot of terrorists and there is a lot of rebels who are busy fighting in those parts of Africa continent, so that peace should not reign in those parts of African continent. Now, Russia is working with these governments like Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, Niger, and since these people, they had stopped working with France, they reject France out of their business, they needed someone who can work with them. They needed someone who can also protect them against France when it comes to the finance, when it comes to the partner who can sell their minerals, like buying it and selling it to other world markets. Of course, they need a country such as Russia. Now, Russia went in and they even start plating their roof everywhere, whereby they are helping these governments not to cheat on them as France used to do, but they are helping them just in order for this government to put them to raise up again with their economy. Of course, that was something that could not leave France to go without fighting, because France ended up realizing that we are nothing without African minerals. We are nothing without the uranium of Niger. In our previous video, I spoke to you, I told you how important these uraniums from Niger does play a big role in France's economy. Because during the winter, in France, they survive with these uraniums. It is these uraniums that help them, their children, to go even to school. Otherwise, they'll die with cold over there. And it is this uranium that has been helping them. They've been looting it for free, but now that they own of the uraniums, they are standing and trying to reclaim what is their right. Of course, France feel like, no, it's not going to be easy for us to let these people to go free. Now, how did NATO, France, US, and British, they decided to attack Russia over Africa? Of course, they are attacking now Russia over Africa because Russia is winning Africa. China, they are winning Africa. They are having good relationship of one another. They are having mutual respect of one another. No one did colonize another country in Africa. Instead, they are seeing each other with that value, which is different when it comes to France with the British, Italy, or Belgium. These former colonials, whenever they seize an African leader, whenever they seize African people, the kind of treatment which they are reserving for these people, it is more different. You can tell that they are not afraid of Africans because they believe that these are people who used to be our slave. These are people who used to work for us. These are they are kind of people who used to send. They were busy doing our dishes, brushing our shoes, and for that reasons, they feel like they don't have any, not even small reason why they should respect an African leader or why they should respect Africans. Now that Africans, they've come to the part or to the point of deciding to open their eyes and say that, okay, enough, it is enough. What does not last? So this is about time we stop you from everything that you are doing. Because guys, France, he have done it all. France looted Africans and it destroyed Africa continent economy. France play a very big role in destroying Africa continent. And that made Africans to start now standing one by one in different corner of Africa continent, in different countries in Africa continent. They start now saying, no, France, stop. Let us be with our own mineral resource. Let us be able to produce our own mineral resource and sell it to the person of our choice.
The kind of mineral resources we have in our country is enough to take care of everybody in that country. We should not have a single poor person in Sierra Leone. But unfortunately, we are not given the free will to make decisions on our own mineral resources. There's always Big Brother who decides. And when you fight and say, no, we are not going to do this, they use the system to stop you. It's either they set you up with the opposition and they will be supporting the opposition against you from the back, or they cause unnecessary chaos in your country so that you are not able to even govern your own people. They will do things to make you not to be functionable. And of course, any country that don't have peace cannot develop. You have to have peace before you talk about development. I'll give you a simple example about Sierra Leone. Every mining company that is in Sierra Leone today is owned by a foreigner. Every mining company. If it's not the Chinese, it's the American, it's the British. Our electricity, Bumuna, is run by the British, and we still don't have light. We're looking for light, electricity. If you don't have electricity, how can you talk about education? How can you talk about health facility? How can you talk about improving the infrastructure of your country? We don't have electricity. Now, do we actually even have proper water, pipe-borne water, so that our kids will not be sick? We don't have those facilities. Why? With all the minerals we have, there is a cap you put. Before my husband became the president of Sierra Leone was benefiting, they said, what's the word? 0 0.000.1%. What is that? Basically, a company can take as much as $100 million out of the country in terms of minerals, and then they can just give the country $10,000. Now, what will $10,000 do for our health system? What is $10,000 do for our educational system? You cannot be coming to our country and take everything that will make us develop, and then you still treat us as inferior people, as if we don't know what we're doing. I think that is wrong. And these are the things I believe that are stopping Africa from progressing. We don't have a say. The sense about us celebrating independence, I don't know why we're celebrating independence, because we are not free.
Africa, historically, sub-Saharan Africa, has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. Okay? And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Okay, so that's the message.
So you see for yourself that all this mineral resource which France is more focused on when it comes to Africa minerals, of course it is more focused in Sahel regions. And when we're talking about Sahel regions, we are seeing where there is a Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, and Niger, and so on and so on.
Between the vast Sahara Desert and the dense foliage of the African rainforest is a band of semi-arid grassland. Known as the Sahel, the landscape is one of Africa's most productive crop regions.
Last year, these Sahel region countries, they all decided to distance themselves from France, US, and the British, in conclusion, all the NATO countries. But they needed a help, because without a help of a country such as Russia, these countries will vanish. Remember, when Niger military government decided to challenge France, do you guys still remember what President Macron said? He even threatened the sovereign country such as Niger in Africa continent, saying that if you guys don't reinstate the president which you remove in power, then France will have to invade Niger. If it was not because of the power that, the unity, the African tried to put their power together in order for them to challenge France, whereby we saw Burkina Faso with Ibrahim Traoré, or Mali with their military president also coming back saying that if France ever tried to step their feet in Niger, we are going to sponsor or give our militaries to Niger, and we are going to fight France in Africa borders, because we're not going to allow someone coming all the way from Europe to come and tell us how to do things around here. After then, we also, how the president of, military president, of course, President Ibrahim Traoré, who had also to come and remove himself or remove Burkina Faso from this so-called organization called by the name of ECOWAS, an organization which was well led by the Western mafias. Instead, they put some puppet presidents, they put some puppet Africans in front line, so that when you see who's talking, you believe that this is my fellow African, just to find out that they had nothing to do with the unity of Africa. So you see how much Africans, they don't want anything to do with the West. You see how much Africans, they are so angry toward France, US, British, Germany, Belgium, all these countries combined together, because of the kind of crime they have committed in Africa continent, because of the kind of looting that they have committed in Africa continent. They loot without having pity. They loot forgetting even the owner of the house. They always say, you can't bite the hand that feed you. But these people, they have not only bite the hand that feed them, instead they exploit it and they destroy each and everything that's supposed to be helping the hand that was feeding them. So African youth, they were like, no, we don't want this anymore. We have to stop this right now. We don't want to have this kind of partners who don't have respect for our leaders. We don't need this kind of partners who have to call all our leaders, about 53 presidents, to go and put them, all of them, in one bus and put them to the same table for them to come and welcome one person. No, we don't need this kind of leaders. We need a leader who can have respect for Africans, who can have respect for African leaders, a leader who can have, or a partner who can have something good to say when it comes to the beneficiaries of Africans. And that is how these things went and drove France crazy. It made them become even more crazy. They now want to go and attack Russia because they know very well that if Russia take over Africa, then it will make them become even more powerful, because they will be in control of, not in bad way of course, they'll be in control of all these uraniums. The uranium of Niger, it will be sold to Russia, and they'll be in control of all this African gold mining we see all over Africa. They'll be in control of this African coal, is the one we're having over here in South Africa. They'll be in control of Botswana diamond, or the one of DR Congo. They'll be in control of all this petrol we see over there in Senegal, Gabon, Cote d'Ivoire, or Cameroon. All these countries, they'll start now having kind of like a partnership with Russia. And now the only way to stop Russia is to engage in an open war with Russia. Now, since they have found a battlefield, a place whereby they feel like, okay, they can do whatsoever they want to do, because we know this is how they function. They're never gonna fight you into their land. Yes, US never attack a country from the US. Instead, what they usually do, they'll use your neighbors. They'll create some kind of conflict, and they'll put conflict among you with your neighbor, so that once you try to start defending yourself or fighting your neighbor, then they'll go through there. They did it, of course, with Saddam Hussein via Pakistan. They did it with Muammar Gaddafi in Libya via Egypt and Tunisia conflict. They did it with so many leaders or many countries around the world. Right now, they are doing it in Israel. We all know that the mission that is happening in Israel right now between Israel and Hamas terrorist, Hamas group, these missions, it had nothing to do with what they're showing us on their TVs. Of course, they are in that Arabic regions because they want to target Iran. And on other side, Iran is so angry against them because they're also trying to fight back. That is the reason why you see, no matter how many crimes being committed over there in Israel, the US, they don't have the courage to condemn it. Are you going to tell me that Netanyahu is having them in their pocket? That's another story for another day. But you can tell that people who are preaching this, how to call this democracy around the world, the people who are saying that they are find good example to be imitated when it comes to democracy, these are the same people who are failing to implant peace in Israel, where innocent people are being killed each and every day. So this is their ideology. This is how they do their things. This is how they usually attack other nations. And now that they have found a battlefield, which is Ukraine, they are using Ukraine in order for them to fight Russia. We all know. And by the time they're done with Ukraine, I feel pity for Ukraine. So guys, again, you see on how these people, they are doing everything in their power in order for them to take over Africa continent. And on the other side, we're having Africans who are now more determined to take their destiny into their hands, to make sure that their future can become even more brighter than the way it used to be before. We having African youth who's more determined to make their own research, to understand the history on how, because sometimes it is very simple for you to understand what had happened. When you take Africa continent, especially if you are coming from Europe or maybe you are coming from somewhere, America continent, and you see all those developed countries. And then you have to think and ask yourself these simple questions. What did African did in order for them to deserve this? Because according to the history, we all study and we all know very well that Africa is the most blessed continent around the world, because everything that make this country to develop or to become number one in nuclear bomb whatsoever, or number one when it comes to invade vehicles, or number one in the aeroplanes, whatsoever it is Africa who have all these materials, who have all these mineral resource. But yet it is Africa, I mean, which is number last when it comes to the development. So all these kind of questions, each and every African youth, if they have to ask themselves these kind of questions, of course it will revolt them. They'll have that angry and they'll feel like, no, I can't tolerate this. Because sometimes it does not even make sense, where you see by these same people, they are coming with so much rules, so much conditions to impose on Africans, yet they don't apply all these things. For an example, see these same people, they come in Africa, they invade or create borders among Africans, and they'll tell you that this is Botswana, and they'll tell you that no, this is Namibia, that one day is Nigeria, this one is Mozambique, that one is Zambia or Zimbabwe. But yet, over there on their side, they could not be able to implement those borders. That's the reason why, for those who always watch like soccer, you'll find there are some games whereby you see someone leaving Belgium around 3 and they arrive in Germany around 5, and then they're still gonna be able to watch that game and leave the following morning. Whereby you see someone in Italy, they leave all the way, they went in Italy, they took a simple train because they're having their train over there, and they'll go there just to go and meet for a cup of tea, a meeting, which will take them 30 minutes, then the next things, they're on their way going back to their countries so that they can continue with their activities. So see the kind of people that we've been dealing with all this time. And when we're here preaching about the unity of Africa day and night, some people think that they have made it in life. And that's when they'll call us names, that's how they'll insult us, that's how they'll treat us somehow, forgetting that these people, they knew what they did by coming with this kind of idea to divide Africans, because they want Africa to be divided. As I always tell you every time, that Africa is that sweet cake, not a wedding cake, not a birthday cake, but that one unique cake that each and every person want to have a piece of it. And once you taste a piece of it, you become fan of it. You don't want to let go of it. You don't want to finish it because you want more and more. And that is how all these former colonials, they are seeing Africa. They know very well that they can't create BMW or Mercedes without having Africa mineral resource mature being involved in all these creations. They can't invent a certain aeroplane or any kind of device without having the coltans from DR Congo. So they know very well, and that's the reason why if you look countries such as the one of DR Congo in the east there, they are busy fighting day and night, because they know the day Africans will be united. They know very well that the day Africa will speak one language. They know very well that the day Africa will have one currency, one army, one leadership. That day they'll lose everything. For an example, I just give you a very short example of the one in the country in Sahel regions. Just because they decided to turn their backs to US and France and what Russia. See what is happening now in the Red Sea. They are fighting there already, and we don't know how this is going to affect the world economy than the one of coronavirus. So for how long this will have to happen? For how long this will have to continue taking place? Well, only time will tell us. But for Africans, I like the fact that we are more focused now on what is happening in our land, which our forefathers had fought for.